Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, The Purpose Driven Homestead. Today I thought we'd take a little bit of a break from some of the gardening and work that we're doing outside because it is a cold January day right now. As you can see, there's snow here coming into our garage, and I thought that I would, there's about 5 or 6 inches of snow on the ground right now, so nothing going on outside. I thought I'd take a few minutes and show you some of the projects we've been working on inside. So recently I got this Wen lathe. So something I've been actually wanting to do for a long time is take up woodworking. Done a few projects. If you follow us on social media, you will have seen we've been working on crochet needles. Our son's actually been working on doing some spoons and kind of carving those by hand. So one of the things I wanted to try to do is work on a crochet hook. Now my wife crochets, it's something she's taken up, and I thought this would be a fun thing to do. Our son is just 8, and so he's kind of working on doing a project of his own. So it was something we can kind of do together, work out here in the garage while it's cold. We're actually going to be working on a video coming up here very shortly on planting seeds for this spring. So if you can believe it or not, it's already time to be doing that. That's coming up. So this is the lathe here. This is a Wen lathe. It's not very expensive. I actually picked this one up for, I don't know, I'll post the price up there. It was like 140 bucks or something. As far as lathes go, that is super cheap. You can spend thousands of dollars on lathes, and I wanted something that I could start with and have a little fun with and learn. So this is actually what I started with. I'll put the link in the description below. This thing has actually impressed me. Again, for what it is and what I was looking for, this is perfect. So today I'm actually going to be working on this piece of oak. It's a scrap piece of oak from a little piece of furniture I was building not that long ago. And so I'm going to work on that, and I may even work on this piece of apple. So this is an apple, a piece of apple that I cut from a tree that we cut down not that long ago. It's been sitting seasoning now for probably a year or so, drying out. So this is a piece of apple. Now it's been drying out outside, so we're gonna have to cut the ends and check to see if it's actually worthwhile doing. But we'll see if it's if it's still quality wood or if it's started to kind of decay a little bit. But we know this one will work. This is a solid piece of oak that I used from a piece of furniture. It's been kiln dried, so it's very dry. This has dried outside, so it's going to have a lot of residual moisture still in it, even though it's over a year old. But we're going to try it. We're going to see how this works. The goal is to make a crochet needle or crochet hook from both of these. And so we'll make some. We're looking to make, this will be a 6 millimeter and or a little larger that we've been using for some other yarn that my wife's been working on. So we'll see how that goes. So that's our project today, guys. Stay tuned. As you can see here, this has been outside, so this end has gotten really weathered. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to true this up a little bit. We're going to cut it down some. You can see it's got a bow in it. We're going to try to cut some of that out so that we can get a straighter piece. We'll center it either way on our lathe, but we're going to try to keep that from wobbling around too much as we start our cuts. And we're going to cut these ends off to get what we can, hopefully we can get to some fresher, better quality wood that's not as weathered at the end. Because you can see, as we can kind of use our finger on this. Apple's a little softer wood anyway, but this is something that we'll get rid of because it's kind of trashy wood at the end. Okay, the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take these ends and we're going to try to cut these off, square them up a little bit, and hopefully we're going to use our bandsaw back here to do that. But we're going to hopefully get this to some better wood and check it out and see how it looks. So the first thing we'll do is we'll take a thin layer off. We'll take a chunk out, maybe ½ inch or so. See how that looks, and if we need to keep going, we'll keep paring it back. What we don't want to do is get too much of the wood gone. I was hoping I might be able to get 2 out of this, but hard to tell if that's going to be enough. We'll see. So that took us a little bit better. You can see here, these are the bits and pieces, and they crumble in your hand. That's how dead the end of it is and weathered. So this stuff just dried right out and just became brittle. So you can literally pop it apart in your fingers. So we'll get this trash out of the way. Probably do another cut on it real quick and see how that goes. All right, still having the same problem here. This stuff's really, really brittle. You can definitely see in here that it's been weathered. Water's gotten deep into that through some of these cracks. So we're going to keep going. Hopefully we can salvage this. All right, now we're getting into some better stuff. I cut this a little thicker, but You can definitely see that it's better quality stuff. So we'll stop there and we'll work on the other end now. So we've cut this down to size now. This is about 11 inches. Wow, I don't know if I could have done that any more perfectly. This is exactly 11 inches. And that's just not going to be enough to get 2 needles out of. We need them to be about 6 inches apiece, but you know, wasn't in the cards today. So anyway, we're going to true this up a little bit, and then we're going to go and jump on the lathe. So we've got this as close as we can get it to center right now, as close as I can get it. This is a little bit weirdly shaped, but I did cut down the side a little bit to try to make this a little bit, you know, true it up a little bit more than it was originally, because it did have a bow in it. So I just kind of flattened some of that out on both sides so that hopefully it will spin a little easier. So we got it centered up in both our headstock and our tailstock. And now we're gonna try to turn this a little bit. So you can see as we kind of go along here, definitely have some bug damage. You can actually even see one of the bugs still in there. So definitely has caused some damage to you on the outside underneath the bark that's been peeling off pretty easily. So that's not a good sign. But hopefully we can get to some good wood underneath here that the bugs haven't gotten to. So we'll find out shortly. Well, we're almost there, I think. You can almost see into that hole. Come over here. You can see just in there a little bit. So I think we're going to make it through that one. Hopefully there's no more. Yeah, this is going to be a waste. We can see in here, you can see the middle part here. That's where bugs getting in here. It's tunneled all the way over. This is just going to be rotten wood all the way through here. We're going to just turn it a little bit more, but short of there being some kind of miracle in here, we're going to move over to the oak. So that was a bust. So we're going to go back to obviously what I know is good quality wood. It's kiln dried. I've actually used some of that apple before and had no problem with it, but this piece was just really buggy for whatever reason. So we'll look for some more of that, maybe to do in another episode. All right, so we're going to start now with this oak, and it's a lot harder. You'll see a big difference between this and how it comes off in comparison to how that softer apple came off. And obviously that the apple wasn't high quality wood because of the bugs, but you'll see a big difference here. We've got this now down to basically a rough, you know, it's not the same diameter across, but we've got it down to more or less a cylinder now. We're starting to get it close to where we want to start changing diameters. This is pretty big right now. Most of the Most of the things that we'd be working with for a crochet needle would be something close to like 5-6 millimeters. This one is currently running about 16 millimeters. So we've got a lot we're going to take off down at this end. Depending if we're going to make a jumbo hook, I haven't decided yet, or if we're going to make a standard hook. So that's like 16. And then down here, we're looking at it about 16 as well. Okay, you can see here that I've actually laid out some pencil marks on this. This is close to being a cylinder now. It's still way, way far off. As I just showed you those measurements, it's still pretty far off from being an actual crochet hook size, but we now are getting to the place where we're going to want to start making some changes to the profile for the handle, and then down here towards the end where the hook's going to be. So I've made these rough marks more or less where I'm going to want to change some of the profile. So here is going to be the end of it. We're going to do some little, we're going to try to get a little fancy down here towards the end. This will actually be where the end of the handle, the part that you grip as you're holding onto this, will be. This is going to be the thumb rest. And my wife prefers to have, instead of an indention thumb rest, something that's divoted out so that your hand kind of sits into it. She likes one that's raised. So we'll do a raised profile here, then we'll drop it back down, and we're going to have over here, this will be actually where the profile will start changing back again, and then that'll be the end. So we're going to mark all this so that we can see it, and then we're going to put some, we're going to permanently mark it with our chisel. So that gives us a good idea of where these marks are going to be and where we're going to make those changes at. So let's go ahead and mark this with our chisel now. Now we've got a basic idea of how we're going to set this up. Now we're going to keep on taking some more material away. Okay, so we can start seeing some of this come into shape here. Did a little bit of work down here at the bottom. It's nothing fancy. It's just, you know, me learning and playing a little bit. So we're starting to get the handle, a little bit of slope so that it's tapered at this end, tapered at that end, and you know, more comfortable handle here in the middle. Then we're going to work on roughing this out a little bit more, get this going. We still got a ways to go. This is still about 9 millimeters, so we've still got a ways to go on all of this to get it down to 5 or 6. We're getting close. It's about 7 down here, about 6, 8, 7 there. Definitely have to take a little bit more off down here. 6, 7. So running about 7. So we've got another millimeter or so to take off. We'll probably take a little bit more off down here though, so that this handle has a little bit more slope to it, and then comes back out. think we've got something that we can work with here. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use some steel wool on it to further rough or buff out some of this roughness, and then we'll do some hand sanding as well. But after we get done with the steel wool, we're going to go ahead and try to cut this off as much as we can, or get it as close to cut off, and then we're going to take it to the bandsaw. We're going to use the steel wool quite a bit. The goal here is to obviously get all the burrs we can off with it spinning at this high rate of speed. Cuts down on how much hand sanding and stuff we have to do. Let's check our final measurements here. See here, it's 574, 552, 561. So it's a hair under our 6mm that we were shooting for, but I'd say it's not too bad considering. We're over here at our bandsaw now. You can see we're going to make our cut down here, not where I've used that tool, but right above that. So we'll have several of these profiles, and then we'll cut it off straight there. So at this end, this is where our hook's going to be. So we're going to cut that off right here on our bandsaw. This piece will be all waste, and then we'll be able to, we've already got this rounded off to a degree. All we'll have to do is sand that down and our hook, and then we'll make our cut on our hook, and we'll be able to move on. So here's our semi-finished product. We've got a little sanding we'll do down here at the end. We've got a flat surface now that we've cut off. We'll sand all this, get it to a good spot. Same true here, where we cut that off here, we've got a little flat part. Just take a little bit of sanding, and I think we'll be able to get that into a pretty nice hook. We'll come back and we'll use the bandsaw again to get our divot cut out for our crochet hook at the end. I don't actually know the technical name for it, but we'll get we'll sketch it out with a pencil. Then we'll use our bandsaw here. We'll cut a little divot, and then we'll do the rest by hand. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to come in and cut out this divot. And you can see here, I've marked this with a basic look to it. Now there's nothing super fancy about it. I've just essentially marked out a space here so that when I remove that material, it will look very much like the hook that I'm supposed to get from for a crochet needle. So what we're trying to do is we are trying to make sure that when we come in here and cut this divot out, we don't wind up cutting all the way to the end, because if we cut this piece off and chop that off, the best that we can do is then to round this off again and start trying to work our way back and do another hook. So we want to be very, very careful that we don't cut this end off as we're trying to make this divot in to make the hook. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to use one of these hand chisels. We're going to come in here and we're going to use this to mark out this end. So we're going to come in right here where we've measured off our line. We're going to come into right there. We're going to push down. We're going to start making our line. This will allow a natural break point, so that as we come through with our bandsaw, if it starts chipping, we have a higher probability. Hopefully it'll chip out along this line. And we'll be able to save that. Now, we can then start also working our way through here. This is the part that we want to be very, very careful. See how it stopped right there? So this, you're going to want to be, it's more about taking your time, because you can't put wood back on. Gives you a bit of an idea of what we're trying to do here. That's just the very start. And we're going to use our bandsaw now. We're going to come in and we're going to try to cut some of that out. So if you can see here, we've got the makings of our hook. I just started kind of hand carving that out. Now I could have probably just continued to do that, but I'm going to chance it today. And I'm going to try to make a little bit faster work of this and see if I can't make a cut into this. I could keep chancing it, but we've got enough of a gap here now that I can start working on this with a hand chisel. And I can hopefully finish carving that out and not risk chipping that off, because we're getting to the point now that if I continue to go with the bandsaw, this little area right in here is going to get really, really brittle. So if I happen to come through here too much, this top section up here might break off. Or if I come in too hard, then this whole end could break off because we're losing more and more material in here. So at this point, we're going to go with these hand chisels and try to work on it that way. The key is taking off, keeping that angle shallow, so you're taking off as little wood as possible. At least that's what I found, because this is really delicate in here, and you definitely don't want to take off too much wood. So here's our more or less finished product. Our hook. We'll hit this with some steel wool. Hey guys, I hope you've enjoyed watching us make this today. It was a lot of fun. This is the finished product. You'll see that essentially this is now ready to go. I finished this. It's very smooth. I won't pick anything at this point. Now you could go and stain this and lacquer it, put some polyurethane on it, and it would be beautiful. However, as I've talked to a lot of people, and I've had some of these used by people who do a lot of crocheting, they actually prefer to keep this in its natural wood finish. The reason is because over time, that lacquer will wear off, and it's sticky sometimes in your hands. And so while it may look beautiful, unless you're going to use this as an heirloom and you're just going to keep it sitting on a shelf somewhere, using the natural wood is actually a much better feel. It doesn't get sticky, the varnish doesn't wear off, the polyurethane doesn't wear off. So this is how we're going to keep these. So we took this today from this, which is just a piece of oak, to a crochet needle. Not bad. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and check out some of these other videos you might like. We'll see you next time on the Purpose Driven Homestead.